It is Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Wednesday night. What's today's date? May 9th, 7 p.m. Wednesday night on CTV 21, Chester Cable Access. And this is the Late Night Live Show. We are on every Wednesday night from 7 to 8. We interview, I used to host a show where I interview business owners, and there's still a part of me wants to say interview business owners and people making a difference in New Hampshire. But no, we're not interviewing people making a difference in New Hampshire. We're interviewing artists.
Well, still making a difference in New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. We interview actors, filmmakers, comedians, writers, musicians, magicians potentially. We talked about this, and tonight we have our friend Chris Esper coming in to talk about his new film Bent, and also KJ's on vacation, so she's not in tonight. All right, she's in Mexico or something like that. So this is going to be a manly movie night, and to have our special guest co-host Steve Gamlin, a manly man if there ever was one.
Try to be.
Yes,
got the voice.
I would say you've got the voice. Yes. So we're sitting in. Tonight's theme is manly movies. We have the top 10 manly movies. We also have 3 very manly-looking trailers, and we have a manly action film coming up by Chris Esper, and then we have Derek. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
So I think it's gonna be fun. We were usually on Facebook Live, but Facebook just told us that our video got pulled down because something to do with some. Let me read this if it's still up.
Due to bad taste.
Due to bad taste.
No.
International Olympic Committee Rights Management blocked your video because it may contain content they own. May contain content they own. I don't know if you noticed, but the first 5 minutes of our Facebook is that timer, that countdown, which we ripped off of YouTube. It's just a timer. There's no music, because we've been pulled down from music. We've accidentally played music before. It's happened. There's no music.
Yep.
There's just text. So I don't know what content they own, but if we weren't on live television, I would tell them where to go for ripping us off of Facebook Live right now, because this is supposed to be a live show.
I almost want to say junior Olympian, but I'm pretty safe not being an Olympian now, so I'm pretty sure I'm not the cause of the strike.
All right. Well, hey, Steve, thanks for being on the show today.
Happy to be back here, yeah.
So what you been up to?
I have been doing a lot of writing, actually building a new recording studio. My wife and I just bought a new home. We only have 359 more mortgage payments, which... All right.
Getting there.
And
one at a time.
So just building a new recording studio, and then I may, other than being paid to speak somewhere in the country, I may never leave my house.
Oh wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Just having fun.
I noticed before the show, and I was actually going to ask the producer about it before the International Olympic Committee Rights Management blocked
before we
video.
caused an international incident.
Yes. By the way, yes, there's a little notification. It said you're blocked worldwide. We have like 5 viewers like a week. Like this is like, who is watching this?
Well, you just never know who really is watching this.
Yeah. Right.
There could be a knock at the door anytime during the show.
Right. Yeah.
In trouble.
Yeah, that could be it.
Keep the cameras rolling if that happens.
Keep the cameras rolling if that happens. All right. Anyways, this is the Late Night Live Show. We're on every Wednesday night from 7 to 8. We interview guests, and we try to have a good time. We have our gopher Adam West, who has a significance with this episode this week. Chris Esper is going to be coming into the show, but this is a manly movie. We're going to be talking about the top 10 manly movies of all time, and we will be right back. There's a countdown for those of you. This is a Late Night Live Show. Welcome back. CTV 21, Chester Cable Access. But I have a little walkie-talkie in my ear, and they do a countdown 10, 9, 8 when we come back on live. And I don't. You guys probably didn't see this, but as it's going on in my ear and I'm listening to 10, 9, 8, I just see the two of them, their heads just bobbing 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Well, welcome back. This week we're doing manly movies because there's no women on the show today. We don't have Arnie. We don't have the feminine side, so we're going to have to do manly movies. And we have the top 10 from, I believe, IMDb, but...
we do.
Yes.
So
We do.
So let's go through the top 10 the first 5 of the top 10 manly movies.
Would you like to start at number 1 or
So we go number 10. We go
Number
back.
10. Number 10. Okay.
Yo, Adrian, we got Rocky as number 10.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Gamlin, what do we got?
Rocky from 1976, the first installment of the Rocky series, the one that Sylvester Stallone we were talking about before the show,
Yep.
peddled around. And that's something I didn't know about it. And go ahead and share.
It was actually, when he wrote the script, it was supposed to be Dustin Hoffman that was supposed to be Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
And Sylvester Stallone wanted to be Rocky himself and refused to hand over the rights to the movie unless he was the star. And it was really a huge turning point for Stallone because he had really no history at all in film. I mean, as far as a major film.
Truly a rags to riches tale.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And he actually wrote the screenplay based on, at the time, the Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner fight.
Yeah.
Wepner was a brawler, a bruiser, kind of like the character of Rocky was based on, who went the distance with Ali and then lost, in the ruling at the end. But that was where he got the inspiration to write that movie. And I didn't know about that part about Dustin Hoffman.
Yep.
Cannot imagine Dustin Hoffman as Rocky.
Yeah.
Of course, now we want to just substitute the Rain Man character and say, I'm an excellent fighter.
Yeah. Hit in the head. Hit in the head.
But yeah, so Rocky from 1976 is number 10. Now, have you seen the original Rocky movie?
I
Or is
have.
it-
I've
I
seen
got
it.
a couple of years on you, so I wasn't sure
Just
if
a
you've seen
couple.
that or
Just
not.
1 or 2, yeah.
Just a couple.
Yeah. I think
Double-digit years on you, yeah.
I've seen all of them except for the Creed. That's the only one in the series that I haven't seen. I love the first Rocky movie, and especially being a filmmaker myself, there's always got a special place, in my heart for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a great movie. And there's a couple of awesome documentaries about how it was made. But there's one that was like really long about the whole series and how he got into it, even up until Rocky Balboa. And actually, his making of Rocky Balboa was very similar to his making of Rocky, because you think about when Rocky Balboa came out, Stallone hadn't done a heck of a lot in that time span. So that was another movie that kind of got him back into what has been a very steady career since then.
Yeah.
He's done a ton of movies since then. So yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I think I probably love the story behind it more than I actually love the movie itself. If I'm honest, I've never been a big sports movie or boxing movie guy. So
From the series, though, I've got to say my favorite has been Rocky 2, which is the second one, which kind of it begins with the aftermath of the fight and how the results of it affected Rocky's life and Apollo Creed's life, because a lot of people claim Apollo lost the fight, but he got awarded the championship. So there was a lot of feelings on both sides.
I can agree.
And Rocky was supposed to, because he had his eye got damaged, he wasn't supposed to fight anymore. So his manager taught him to fight a different way, and then they had the rematch, and that led to everything that came after that.
That was trying to catch the chicken, I think, in the second one, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
the
he's
second
trying
one,
to catch the chicken,
Burgess Meredith, who played his manager, Mickey, he said that's how they learned speed in the old days. They chased chickens. And of course, Stallone couldn't catch it, and he stands there against the fence saying, I feel like a Kentucky Fried Idiot. And that was like the end of that scene, but his heart wasn't in it yet, and then there was a turning point. And of course, the music comes up, and
I will say this: the scene when he's jogging and everyone starts running with him, that's a epic scene.
Yeah.
But there's that one kid who almost keeps up with him.
Yeah.
I wonder if that kid was told to do that, or if he was just like, I'm going to have my moment on the screen.
Yeah.
All right, but you've seen Rocky?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you fan of it?
Of course.
Okay, all right.
It's definitely a manly man movie.
All right. Well, let's move on to 9. How about you tell us a little bit about 9 then?
Well, this is where Adam West appears in Caddyshack. Not Batman, but Caddyshack. And what's interesting was you were saying that one of the behind-the-scene things that most people don't realize is that it's the first movie with Chevy Chase and Bill Murray. And what was the story behind that?
at the end of the movie, they realized that they didn't have a single scene together in the movie. Now, here are two of the big comedy stars, both veterans of Saturday Night Live, who famously did not really get along. And it was kind of figured out at the end of filming that they hadn't been in a scene together. So they improv'd one where Chevy Chase is doing a practice round of golf the night before the big match. and he kind of stumbles into Bill Murray's little hovel of a place, and they just have this thing back and forth, and they get drunk and they get stoned, and they just start just talking. And some of the greatest lines from the movie came from that scene.
It's a great movie, and I'd say Rocky definitely kind of a manly movie. Every guy wants to know that they can go the 12 rounds. And Caddyshack, it's just a guy comedy, I think, and like without being extreme. You know, I was talking to someone on the way over here saying we're going to do manly movies, and she was saying, well, you're probably thinking like American Pie or something like that. I don't really think that's a manly movie. That's like a bro, dumb, idiot college movie that you get over that stage of life pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever think Old School is ever really going to go down as a great epic of all time. You know,
Billy Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes, it's just not really those type of things. But Caddyshack, it's just dumb in all the right ways.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's got a million subtle lines to it.
Yeah.
And little classic things. It's almost like Airplane, which is another one of my favorite movies. Every time you watch it, you pick up that little bit extra.
Mm-hmm.
And in Caddyshack, the funny part was what they named everybody, the characters they talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Smales, who was Ted Knight.
Yep.
His granddaughter's name was Lacey Underalls. And just all these different weird names that they gave people in the movie were just hysterical. A lot of them were references of some of the actors or the writers, people they knew in real life. And they just threw these little asides in. And of course, Rodney Dangerfield.
I love Rodney.
His major motion picture thing. And one of the things I learned about in the behind the scenes was, of course, he was coming from the stand-up world, the comedy world. And he thought he was failing on the very first day of filming because nobody was laughing at his jokes. And they had to take him aside and say, Rodney, we're not in a comedy club. This is a movie set. If they laugh, it blows the scene. So he said it was an adjustment for him to figure out that he wasn't screwing up and failing, wasn't going to get fired because nobody was laughing. They were doing their job by not laughing.
All right, so we got 2 minutes before we get into the next section, so we better move further because we're talking way too much about these two first films. But Caddyshack is the only comedy on the list, we'll say that. And I think this next one is the only sci-fi. No, not the only sci-fi,
No,
but it is definitely a groundbreaking film. Steve, I think I'm going to have you mention this one because you probably know nothing about this movie, I'm assuming.
I have not seen it. I've seen clips here and there, but it's not my genre. I'm a comedy and then a Western and
So
guy.
describe this film.
The Matrix. I'll do it the IMDb way. I'll do the old announcer. This cyberpunk epic signaled a new kind of male hero. The tough guy, computer geek, and Keanu Reeves makes the most excellent Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah.
Good call. Digital super dude. And basically, it was this whole cyberspace thing, which kind of talks about human life all being part of what they call the Matrix. And there's the red pill and the blue pill, I believe.
Yeah, there's so many classic lines.
There's so many
I'm going to talk a
levels to
little
it.
bit about this because that was kind of my generation.
Well, you'll have to because I've run out of words.
Yeah. But this is sort of like, I was not going to make you guys feel bad, but I was 12 when this movie came out.
Yeah.
All right, so this was like one of the cool movies, and I didn't really like it when it first came out. I've never been a huge sci-fi guy, but I didn't really like it all that much, and it was just weird. But I will say this now, looking back on it, it's pretty groundbreaking. But hey, we're gonna have to cut off. We'll get to the rest of them just a little bit. KJ's out of town right now, and she'll be back next week. But we made this little video just to remember her. So we'll be right back.
Yeah, right. Killing, maiming, hospitalizing. That's what we do. Call us. Or you two, anyway. What the hell?
Jane, you come to take away the pain. Show me I can love again. Oh, my Jane.
You two had always led, we'd always followed, we looked up to you. For God's sake, you guys would think about Benjamin too, think about the others who were looking up to you. What happened to you manly to lose it somehow? Some girl take it from you?
I see you smiling, I'm gone again. What to do with you, my Jane? 'Cause you're driving me insane. Oh, Jane, I'm getting stronger.
What is it?
Longer than it would have taken you. And Jane, I built a long road consequences make.
You're a killer. You'll always be one.
Oh, Jane, I'm coming home to you, Jane. I see you time and time again. And when I do, I always feel the same. What's to do with you, my Jane? Oh, it's driving me insane. Oh, my Jane.
So that was our little salute to KJ, who's off on vacation right now, and give us something to cut away to too, which is what we always need. But we're doing Manly Movies this week. This is a late night live show with special guest Steve Gamlin, and of course our ever favorite Derek Foley right here. So we're moving on. We're on to number 7, which is because we got a little caught up in the first couple films. The Dirty Dozen. I've never seen it. My little sister loves it, but I've never seen it. You?
I've seen parts of it. I don't think I've ever sat and actually watched the entire movie in a row, but I've caught parts of it over the years. It's basically this ragtag group of guys, some of whom are, or many of whom are prisoners, who there's this daring mission that has to happen during the war, and they say, well, these guys are a bunch of idiots. Let's just round them up and make them.
And if they die, they die.
And, well, pretty much. I think the promise was if you get through this, you're free. Something like that. I don't know. I might be
I'd be
wrong.
curious to check.
But
it
was well done. It's just.
It looked kind of in the feel of like The Wild Geese. Remember that movie?
No.
Wild Geese with Richard Attenborough, I believe, and Roger Moore. Very good movie from the 1970s. Have you ever seen this one, Derek?
Negative.
All right, so I think we.
Although it's interesting, you had Charles Bronson here, you had Telly Savalas. I mean,
Yeah. It was everybody was in it movie.
yeah.
It was kind of like a buddy movie, but with 12 buddies.
It's Expendables in the 60s.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I do want to see that.
Good way to describe
That
it.
is good. But let's move on to the next one, because you have something to say about the next one, about The Road Warrior with Mel Gibson.
Yep. This was the second of the Mad Max movies. The first one, and we were talking about this prior to the show, almost like maybe a little indie Australian thing. It took a while to catch on, but it was kind of like a cult following. But then when that came up, the cinematography came up, the budget obviously came up.
Right.
And
Huge budget,
it
comparatively,
was
yeah.
a big budget for when that came out. But it was kind of that post-apocalyptic thing that was starting to be more popular. Some people did it better than others. Of the Mad Max movies, this one is my favorite because I just like how much better it was than the original. The original had a really good story,
Right.
but the effects and everything else were better in this one.
You said you're a comedy guy. This is not really a comedy, though. This
But
is
it
very
had some
violent
comedic, very violent.
Yeah.
But it did have some comedy to it. There were a couple of characters. The gentleman who was up in the little whirlybird helicopter was comic effect. I mean,
Right.
he was there as kind of a joke, even though we helped out.
Right.
Mel
Did you ever
Gibson.
see this one?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of it because it's just too violent for my taste. Which is kind of funny considering these other films that are here that I do like. Moving on. But let's move on to another one. Now, a lot of these films, which we're going to say, a lot of these films are sort of a lot of people's claim to fame. Road Warrior being Mel Gibson's claim to fame, Rocky being Stallone's claim to fame, Matrix being Keanu Reeves' claim to fame, but in this next one being a certain person who was once a governor's claim to fame.
That's
so,
right.
Right.
Wow.
Let's have the gentleman from the 80s.
Who's
Bring it-
that?
Yeah.
The Terminator. Probably one of the ultimate sci-fi movies of the early 80s. We talk about low budget, but that was the sequel was above and beyond it because it was so popular that they had a budget they could actually make a phenomenal film out of.
Right.
And again, this is Schwarzenegger's really first the film that put him on the map, and he had very little to say.
Right.
In fact, Linda Hamilton, as history has, is that she absolutely hated Arnold Schwarzenegger, was really disappointed that he was the main character because she felt she should have been, because it's Sarah Connor.
Right.
But of course, Arnie took the show.
Well, first of all, if you're watching this on TV, usually we're on Facebook Live, and this is totally a side note, have nothing to do with what we're talking about. But the International Olympic Committee Rights Management blocked our video because it may contain content they own. It didn't contain any content. It contained a countdown counter that we've been using for months, and it's never been shut down for that reason alone. So, International Olympic Committee Rights Management, you can go shove it, all right? So,
Somebody
moving
hung-
on.
was somebody-
We're on Facebook Live because
This
of that.
rant is brought to you by.
I wonder if somebody was humming a song in the background. And
Maybe. Okay, all right. But yeah, Terminator, never actually seen it. Seen all the other ones, never seen this one.
Great movie. Some of the effects and some of the things about it, you can tell now with technology much better.
Yeah.
But for when it came out, it was massive. I mean, it was just incredible, and it was such bad a movie.
Yeah. Well, Cameron was great though for groundbreaking effects. That was sort of like he was like the guy who led a lot
to
of
look at it now,
Right.
all these years later, you're like, well, okay, I can see how they did that, but for when it was out, it was just monstrous. And like you're saying, Schwarzenegger had so few lines, but the lines he delivered are epic and are still repeated today.
Well, I think so many people know the "I'll be back" line. Probably haven't, like my generation, completely knows the "I'll be back" line, and completely it's part of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Most likely doesn't even know what friggin' movie it actually comes from.
Yeah.
And it comes from the first Terminator.
Correct.
It's just one line he says to a cop before he comes smashing through with a car or
Yeah.
something like that, But
Which we thought it was from him and DeVito in Twins, but no.
no,
actually
everyone thought
Terminator,
that.
which
Right,
didn't make
another
sense.
epic movie, which I don't know why it's not on this list. Definitely, Terminator, definitely kind of a manly macho movie, but not as much as this next film.
Number 4, sorry.
Number 4.
Die Hard.
Yes.
Which put Bruce Willis in the stratosphere as far as films.
Film star, right.
I mean, he had little stuff here and there, was on Moonlighting. on
Moonlight, which is
television,
huge, but television is
which
still not
big,
movies.
But it was also a different persona. This put him as a smart alecky, extremely clever New York cop out in L.A. At Christmas in a building near the top floor that was just taken over by terrorists who were there to rob all the money and the bonds and the riches from the building. And action.
I'm pretty sure this is like my first rated R movie that I saw.
Yeah.
Okay, this was like a big deal when I saw this movie, and I'm gonna go off on this one. And I know I talk way too much on the show, but I friggin' love this movie. This is like this to me is like the movie. Best Christmas movie ever. Christmas is not Christmas.
Christmas.
Yes, this is a Christmas movie.
Right, yeah, it is.
Manly Man Christmas movie.
And I know
Right.
some people who say it's not Christmas until you see Hans Gruber, the terrorist,
Yes.
fall off the Nakatomi Tower
Yes.
at the end.
Which actually,
Sorry if I just ruined the ending for anybody.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Die Hard, you have no life. Matter of fact, you probably work for the International Olympic Committee Rights Management, and you blocked our video, and you blocked it, and you missed a wonderful opportunity to talk about this wonderful film.
Yep.
Okay,
This
sorry.
wonderful Christmas film.
Wonderful Christmas
Because it was the
film.
very last thing you hear in the movie.
That's one of the
Isn't
Christmas
it, the weather outside is frightful?
Yes.
At the
Yes.
very end is Christmas.
Well,
It's a
the-
nice, happy Christmas song.
Well, the bonds are falling down. Like
oh, yeah,
it looks like it's snowing. Yeah.
Raining debris all over the place.
John McTiernan, as a director, who also did the third Die Hard movie, and he did Predator, another great. I'm surprised that's not on this list.
Yeah.
Predator.
It's got to be in the teens.
Yeah, it's got to right. Yeah.
Upwards, yeah.
This is we actually took the top 10 from a top 50 list, so
Yeah.
it's got to be in there. But John McTiernan does such a great job of mixing the gritty with like the Hollywood flair.
Yeah.
A phenomenal
Yeah.
director. A lot of groundbreaking stuff in Die Hard.
Yeah.
Technical things that I find fascinating that whatever our audiences probably won't find fascinating, so I'm not going to talk about it. But some of the stuff he did in the camera work, the kind of moving camera, which was used wrong in almost all the 70s films, was used properly, was sort of defined. That moving, not shaky cam, that moving camera.
Right. Like the Steadicam type stuff. Yeah.
So, which was actually built for Rocky. That was the first time it was actually ever used, but this was really utilized in an action film. And this was originally supposed to be a sequel to a film called The Detective, starring Frank Sinatra, which didn't end up happening. And Die Hard is actually based off of a book. And yeah, it was so when they heard that the comedian from the NBC, I think it was, television show, why is he playing in this action film? Then all of a sudden Die Hard comes out and it's just like...
Yeah. And Bruce Willis has been recreating this role
Yes.
ever since. Sometimes well and sometimes not so well.
Right. But yeah,
But people keep
this is who
writing
he is,
that role
right.
for him.
This is who he is. So obviously Derek,
Of course.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think pretty much all of them are good. 5, I own it because I have to own it. but 5's awful. But had some good shootouts in it. But beyond that, it's pretty much awful. But the original 3, I'd say 1, 2, and 3 are they're just classic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this is my favorite out of the entire. Yeah, there's a lot of times the first installment isn't always my favorite, but for this one,
like Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon 2 is my favorite.
Which I'm surprised that's not even on this list.
That's surprising.
That is.
Well, it's probably because it's a romance film.
It was also a Christmas movie.
It was also a Christmas movie.
It was also.
That's true.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why you couldn't have 2 Christmas movies
That's
in
it.
the top 10.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Nobody's that manly except
That's
Santa
true.
Claus.
We're gonna move on to the next one. We're gonna have Derek do it because I think you're the only person that's actually seen this movie.
Yes, and I don't know which movie made cocaine more glamorous, Glow or Scarface.
Glow is another great movie.
Yeah.
And number 3 is Scarface on our list.
Yes. This is, I would say, well, this is a tough one to say whether or not this was really Al Pacino's big film, but definitely put him in a spotlight.
Very violent.
As a total gangster, Miami, cocaine trafficking. I mean, it's definitely a classic.
It definitely has some lines that people mimic all the time.
Like to say hello to my little friend.
But nobody really knows where it's from. My generation definitely really wouldn't know for the most part where it's from. And if they do know it, they probably haven't seen it.
And the casual fan will say, "Oh yeah, Al Pacino," but maybe they can't name the movie or what was going on in the scene at the time.
All right, we gotta roll on to this because we're gonna get talking about this, and I want to make sure we get these last 2 out before we bring our guest on. Number 2. Okay, and I'm going to mention this because I'm pretty sure I'm the only Italian in this group. The Godfather. All right, 1972. Great movie.
Yep.
Really great movie. That was Al Pacino's claim to fame. We could make a whole. We should actually do. Actually, next week's theme is gangster movies. I just decided next week's theme is gangster movies, so we'll talk about that next week. But I want to move on to this one because we only got 2 minutes before we have to get our guest on. Dirty Harry, 1972, another claim to fame movie. Clint Eastwood's really get going. Derek, what's your opinion of Dirty Harry?
One of the best cop movies there is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm assuming you've both seen it, right?
I have seen Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
And essentially, here's what it is: he's a cowboy and a cop movie.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
If you think about all the roles that he's played as the good, straight ahead, bad guy, but not a bad guy, but tough guy in a suit in the big city. But he's still that guy making all his own rules.
How many action stars were inspired by this role? No. And it really isn't a ton of action in the movie. It was just the whole persona that he did.
Right.
And I've seen all the Dirty Harry movies, but this one really is awesome. But the other ones are just kind of more like along the lines of okay. All right. But anyways, we're going to be bringing our guests on. This is great. We'll talk more about it when we bring you guys back. But we're going to be showing a clip from our guest's upcoming short film, Bent. Our guest is Chris Esper. And Chris, he's right behind the camera right now. I completely forgot the name of his production company. I know him. You can start. Oh, right. Stories in Motion. I am so sorry, Chris, and I did this live on air too. This just shows you how stupid I am that it's not written down right.
It wouldn't have happened if we had not been banned from Facebook.
Yeah, we're not been banned from Facebook by the International Olympic Committee Rights Management.
I know he's said this millions of times already, and he still has to read it.
That should show you how much problems I have.
Next week, are they going to be a sponsor next week?
Huh?
Are you going to make them a sponsor next week?
Oh yeah, this is sponsored by the the International Olympic Committee. I'm going to take a screen cap.
Now keep in mind, they're probably having this committee like, no, forget it, they're done.
They're like, you know what? No, he's really good. They're going to turn it on.
We got 5 seconds. We're going to be right back. We show the clip from Bent and have our special guest Chris Esper on. Boom. Clear?
What the hell? Oh my God!
She planted the gun, stole drugs from the crime scene, gave them to Brooks to sell.
So we take him in, we got evidence.
Just get to Brenda to get Brooks.
I want to be your friend. You want me to be your friend?
We are back. It's the Late Night Live show. We're on every Wednesday night from 7 to 8. We interview actors, filmmakers, musicians, comedians, writers. We're trying to get a magician on. I'm trying to think of someone else that we interview, and I'm forgetting it right now. And you want to know why I'm forgetting it? Why? Because I have a memory issue. You want to know why I have a memory issue? Because the International Olympic Committee Rights Management blocked our Facebook live stream for tonight's show.
One thing we've never had on the show, an Olympian.
Yeah, we've never had an Olympian on the show. And guess what? We're never going to have an Olympian on the show, all right? And for all those Olympians out there who are dying to be a guest on the show, you can blame, and I'm going to read it every single time, all right? The International... you just watched a trailer for Bent, which is an upcoming thriller, I believe. I believe it's just definitely called a thriller by the trailer,
Yes,
I would say. By Chris Esper, Stories in Motion. Now, we've been trying to have you on the show for a while.
Yeah.
And there's been scheduling conflicts.
Right.
And you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
And your car broke down.
And my car, yeah.
Yes. So
That happens.
And you almost didn't make it tonight, too.
I almost didn't make it, yeah. Because I came from a shoot earlier today. I was near the Cape. I was in Plymouth. And so I came up. I left at 4 o'clock. I got here literally at 7. So I was like, stuck in traffic for Boston traffic. It's horrible.
Either way, both ways are going. But,
It's horrible.
But both, I think, me and you suffer from the same thing of being like filmmakers from a young age.
Yes.
I wrote a book too. It's 24 pages and it's got a lot of pictures in it. But yours has actually got words. I was kind of impressed by that. It's sort of intimidating. I was going to be like, oh wow, look at this. Oh no, there's stuff to read. I can't. Yeah, no, I can't do that.
It's all words.
It's all words.
You have to read it. God forbid.
Do you have an audiobook version of it yet? Like you sitting in traffic actually recording your own book?
I could have actually recorded this whole book at the time it took me to get here.
Yes.
We're on page 24 at exit 17.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Was an Olympian thing going on, like the international?
Wow.
God, I'm so mad.
Can't get enough of that, huh?
I'm so mad. I'll be hanging out with my girlfriend after this, and she's gonna be like, "What's up with you and Olympians right now? Like you're just really mad." You
Next week you're gonna open the show with actually the Olympic theme song.
Yes.
And get banned again.
Yes, we should do that. Anyways, sorry, totally off topic here. How about you talk a little bit about Bent, because this is your first thriller, isn't it? You've done.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I mean, I attempted to do a thriller in college. I mean, I can't say it was really well made. You know, it's like my first thing I ever did. But as far as professionally, doing filmmaking professionally, I guess my first sort of thriller noir, if you want to say that.
Right.
I've done dramas before, but never anything like this. I was just very attracted to the script when I read it.
Right.
It was very engaging, very different. I love film noir. It's like one of my favorite genres of film, especially the 40s, like Maltese Falcon and, I guess Citizen Kane and Casablanca are sort of thrown into that category.
Would Casablanca be called a film noir? It's kind of
sort of. It came out in that era, and there, it does feature some of that stark, lighting, that sort of German expressionist lighting, which sort of really goes back to the 20s with films like Nosferatu, with the...
All right, hold up for a second. Okay. Is that actually written in the book there? Because that sounds way too intelligent.
He's going to spell check Nosferatu.
I don't even know how to spell that. I don't even know what letter that begins with. That's that bad? I'm guessing.
There might be something silent.
Maybe.
It is, it
might
is
be silent.
Silent film, from the 20s. But no, I was always fascinated by that, and then of course, movies like, Godfather, Goodfellas, that sort of genre of more of a neo-noir, but I mean, this is what that is. It's Bent as a neo-noir. But the writer and I, Chris Salve, who's the writer, also co-produced it with me, was also in it. He always described it as an urban western, which I always loved. So, he took a lot of inspiration from a real internal affairs officer in the 80s in New York City who was a corrupt officer.
Right.
And so he took a lot of inspiration from that and also other elements of that world, which I didn't know anything about. So it was amazing for me to step out of that comfort zone and do something totally different.
That's crazy. Because you've done comedies. When I heard that you were doing this, I was like, that's definitely kind of out of your stretch.
Well, I have done dramas, and it's funny. I do often get accused of being the comedy director, which I've strangely took offense to, which is really weird.
I get accused of being the action guy.
Yeah. So.
You do take offense to that to a degree.
You do,
but you're known for something, so why would you be upset?
Right, exactly. Well, and it's not really a bad thing. 'Cause, I mean, comedy is great. I love doing comedy. But the thing is, though, comedy for some odd reason gets this really negative label that it's just for fun,
Right.
and that you can't really do anything artistically with it, which I totally disagree with. I mean, some of my favorite movies are comedies, are brilliant.
Right.
Like Groundhog Day, for example, which I think is hysterical, while also while also having while also having some substance
Right.
of character and such, and also like Arthur or Tootsie, like the movies like that. There's a lot of depth to them. They're not just funny, but there's substance to them. So.
Right.
Well, it's an art form, and so many people don't get it. Sometimes people
exactly.
And I did stand up for 7 years. I was a comedy writer for about 20 in the radio industry, and people say, "Oh, well, comedy is you're just making people laugh."
Yeah, see,
there is
that's
such
the problem.
an art form to it. Now
really
there
is.
are stupid comedies. There's movies like Dumb and Dumber, which people just think, "Oh, they just threw it together."
Sure.
There is a brilliance in the writing, though, that not everybody sees.
Right.
That is, if you can make it look effortless and make it funny. Somebody worked their brains out behind the scenes creating that.
Right, and to your point, too, there's also a comedy that is played straight, which I find to be funniest because the actors aren't trying so hard, like with my film Deja Vuers or like on David Sutter, which I know you've seen Deja Vuers.
I've seen both of them, actually.
Yeah, you've seen both?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
So with both those films, I steered clear from anything that was campy or over the top or anything like that, because I knew very well ahead of time the kind of style I was going for, very quirky humor, but done in a way where it was visually funny, and the actors were playing it serious, where they were like, where they were either in the world or an outsider looking in, and not understanding what was going on. And so, I was very conscious about that, because the comedy I did prior to those two was very broad, which was a big mistake. I mean, the film was good, it was fine, but after watching it recently and prepping for the other two, I was like, can't do that again. Didn't work. So I guess more of a personal taste when it really comes to that sort of thing.
Well, like I've always liked to. I've done a few comedies, and one of them was being the second film I did was a feature film called Running It Empty. It was this buddy action adventure film, and I had all these people like, oh, you should make a comedy. I really didn't want to make comedies. Comedies are very intimidating to me. They're very scary. And so I made it. In the very beginning is this home invasion and somebody gets killed and stuff like that. And as soon as like the bad guy turns and fires a gun into the camera, you just hear this loud scream and you hear this alarm going off, and then you see this like alarm clock, and then you just see this fist just like slam down on the alarm and just go ah, and it just it got a good laugh, but it worked because there was a setup with something serious.
Exactly.
And once you set the audience on that, and it's setting up the punchline of a joke. Yeah. And someone came up to me afterwards. He says, "Yeah, it's a good comedy when it begins with a double homicide." I'm like,
that just screams comedy right there.
Yeah.
Right now there are people watching, writing it down, going, "I'm going to write a comedy.
Nope, taken.
Who do I want to kill?"
Well, I think you are more likely, and you know this, when you're standing in front of a crowd and the crowd expects you to make them laugh, and they want you to make them laugh, and they paid you to make them laugh.
Basically.
It's much more difficult than if you sit in a crowd in front of a scene that's serious. It's much easier to make them laugh in a serious situation than it is to make them laugh in a situation where they're planning on laughing, because there's that anticipation. And so I don't think comedy. I think comedy's an enormous art form.
Oh, it's very difficult. Yeah. And sometimes there are things that you find funny that when you show the rough cut or whatever you're doing to audiences or getting feedback, there's always the possibility. It always happened. It happened with these two, where stuff that I found funny wasn't well received. I was like, oh geez, I gotta cut this now. And, you're so attached to the joke, but you get rid of it, it just makes the movie better. And then you realize, okay, that's why I listened to them. But yeah, I mean, it's so subjective.
It is subjective, but there is a quirky science, because I've known Steve for a couple of years now, and we've had way too many long conversations talking about the details of how you actually break down a joke. And the difference between me and him is he's funny, I'm not. So that's that's I would say that's the difference.
Again, subjective.
Right. Yes.
I've had a few audiences over the years who would disagree with it. But even you're talking about even the heavier stuff. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. That. Even the heavier stuff, you can do the tiniest nod to let an audience breathe a little bit. With just a hint of comedy. It can be a look, an eye twitch, a breaking down of the fourth wall. We discussed that earlier.
Right, yeah.
Just the briefest moment can just defuse something and give an audience a time to breathe, even in a heavy scene or something you might be doing now that's a thriller.
Exactly.
And then the person in the audience who likes them both will get that.
Yes.
To say there was something there for me, this part of me as well,
Right,
which I love when people do that.
And I love when a comedy's pulled out of like a serious situation when it has this realistic, side to it.
Yes.
In Die Hard, we were talking about the manly movies. Have you ever seen Die Hard?
I've seen Die Hard, yeah.
Okay, great movie.
Yeah.
Some phenomenal comedy. The bad guys are very funny in it, but they're very funny in a way you could actually see it happening. But probably one of the most classic lines, one of the best lines in the movie, is he's using the walkie-talkie and he's calling Channel 9, he's calling the emergency, and the lady says, on the other end says, this line's being used for emergency purposes only. And he says, no effing S, lady, does it sound like I'm ordering a pizza? And it's like,
Meanwhile, he's got bullets raining around him. There's a guy with a submachine gun firing at him.
It's like when you're watching, you're not anticipating the laughter. But I will say this: the problem with action movies now is there's too much comedy.
Right.
I think in action movies now.
Yeah, it's a lot of them are being camped up, especially sequels.
Yeah.
Are being so camped up.
Yeah.
And you lose me when you put too much.
We've talked all about this comedy, and we're here to talk about his thriller. Like
I have another movie coming up too, if you're interested.
Okay. Yes. Is it a comedy?
No. Actually, it's a silent drama. I'm going to be releasing the trailer tomorrow. Actually.
Oh, very cool.
It's called Imposter. It's basically a visual representation of anxiety, what it's like to have anxiety, and very universal thing, all very personal as well for myself. So it was.
Wait, you're an artist that suffers from anxiety? That doesn't happen too.
Sure,
what are you talking about?
So how did you research this film? And,
Looked in the mirror, probably like the rest of us.
No, seriously. But we were talking earlier about this, creative people, and what we all really do deal with.
Yeah, when I write, it's cliche, but it's true. You write what you know, and so I found when writing that script, it had dialogue, and I was like, I just scrapped the dialogue. I said, you know what, take this all out. All the subtlety is in the visual of what a person feels when they have any kind of anxiety of some kind, rather than having dialogue that's expository. That's explaining everything. It's much more interesting to just show that. Than
What does expository mean?
Like exposition,
You're making me feel really stupid. I'm looking at this book.
That's not
it has words in it.
So basically, which I'm sure you know what exposition is, right?
I know what exposition.
Okay,
yeah. I'm not that stupid. Right. Yeah. Yes. Actually, I know what exposition is.
Okay. Basically, it just means a character that just says what they're feeling.
Oh, it does. I mean, yes. I know. Hey, I'm sorry. We're running out of time. I hope you had fun. It's finally great having you back on the show.
Yeah.
Man, definitely got to have you back. But what's the name of your website so people can check out your stuff?
Yeah, sure. My website is it's storiesmotion.com. There you can find the work that I do, film work. I'm also a videographer. Freelance a lot. That's what I'm doing these days. Freelance a lot of shows, doing videography, weddings, commercials, music videos, that sort of thing. And I've just been working on that. Just been writing my first.
Is it on Amazon, I'm assuming?
It's on Amazon, yeah.
Right.
It's on Amazon. I'm currently writing a follow-up to that, and I'm also working on my first feature as a writer.
Oh, very cool. Yes. Yeah. That's intimidating.
It is.
Hey, but we're running out. But Chris, it's been fun. I hope you had fun.
Thank you. I did.
Yes. Have had a few laughs. Chris Esper, Stories in Motion. Go check him out online. Check out his book, The Filmmaker's Journey, if you're looking to become a young filmmaker who will hopefully make it to being an old filmmaker. That's our plan. But we're going to be right back with our Trailer Trash segment. Thank you, Chris Esper. Check out his film, Bent, coming out very soon. We'll be right back. Cool.
I'll sit here. Okay. Talking trailer.
Oh, we're back on? Oh, we're back on right now. Okay. You see, I was just looking up something, and what I was looking up was the International Olympic Committee rights management blocked our video Facebook Live. And yes, I'm going to say this joke once again. If there's an Olympian out there, okay?
That's international. It has to be
international. If there's an international Olympian out there, okay? Stay clear of me for like the next few days, all right? And keep that little crap to yourself for now because I'm a little bit sensitive right now. But
go for the gold.
Go for the. Don't even.
Don't say gopher. Don't say gopher. You said gopher.
This week's theme is manly movies because KJ's not in today, so we have to do something in response to this, to her not being here. So we got to do manly movies, and we've just went through the top 10 manly movies. We have Chris Esper on. Thank you for being a guest. But right now, we're going to do my favorite segment of the show, Trailer Trash. Roll our video intro thingy. Damn it. Oh, I just got told by the producer that we already ran the intro. Just kidding. Now we're playing the trailer. So the trailer for the first film coming up is The 12th Man. It's a World War II movie about about a man getting hunted by, it looks like Germans. I can't tell because everything is in subtitles.
Yeah. It is a film in German.
Sprechen Sie
With
Deutsch.
subtitles.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch.
Ich kann Deutsch sprechen, aber nicht genug, which means I can speak German, but not enough.
Where's the guy in ein Bier?
Ja, ich will ein Bier bitte, und wo ist die Badezimmer? I'd like a beer, and where's your bathroom?
Oh, okay.
I can survive anywhere in Europe on that.
So, The 12th Man. This looks like one of those, like almost like 1970s hunting, gritty, painful looking movies.
Yeah, from the trailer, this gentleman who, there were a group of people that the Germans took, and I'm not sure if they killed them, but something very, very bad happened to them. One of them got away.
Yeah.
And it's basically his journey to getting away from them and getting to safety, and this guy goes through a lot. You think Bruce Willis went through a lot in Die Hard. This guy went through a lot.
I'm very interested in this movie because I'm watching it. And I'm not just playing on my computer. I'm actually getting the IMDb information up about this stuff. But I was watching this trailer, and it made me wince watching it. And I got a feeling this is like hitting your head against concrete. This just looks like it's going to hurt.
Yeah, and a lot of this is outdoors in the winter in Europe.
Right.
In 1943, so the conditions themselves are brutally harsh.
Yeah.
That this guy is surviving, just trying to escape to Norway, I believe it is.
Yeah, it looks really good. Now, we didn't talk about this beforehand, but we have a rating system for Trailer Trash, which we have 2 thumbs up, all right, 2 thumbs down, or sideways, or you can do it. And for an extreme case of a film you really don't want to see, 2 thumbs in the eyes. So
I don't want to do that.
No, I don't want to do it. Wait until you see all the trailers, though. I would say
I'm sure there have been some.
Yeah.
That, if I come in with an eye patch, you'll know that there was a really bad trailer.
Yeah. All these films, by the way, we're mentioning today, they are coming out or have already come out this month. But 12th Man, I'm going to be the first to rate this, and I'm going to go. Actually, I'm going to go 1 thumb up, 1 thumb down because I hate reading during a film.
Yep.
But if it was in English, or I spoke whatever language you were speaking in that would definitely be 2 thumbs up because it looks really good. Mm-hmm. So, Derek?
I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up.
All right. So you're excited about this?
That's good. That's good movie.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm going to also give it 2 thumbs up because I love seeing somebody that's trying to escape evil. Mm-hmm. And trying to just doing what he has to do to survive. So, and being somewhat familiar with German, that I can pick out some of the words, I think it would be a little bit easier for me to follow along. With the dialogue. And
it's definitely simplicity in a way, like a gritty simplicity.
Just from the trailer alone, it seems very, very crisp.
Yeah.
The way it's set up, so I don't think it would be too hard to follow.
And the cinematography looks fairly timeless. Looks very classic cinematography.
Yeah, totally. I would be surprised if they end up doing dubs, English dubs over it.
Oh, okay.
So you actually won't have to read anything.
I may actually have a 2 thumbs up. All right, we're going to move on to the next one, which is Bad Samaritan. Now, me and you both watched this trailer together.
Yes, we did.
It was a beautiful moment. A pair of burglars stumble upon a woman being held captive in a home they intended to rob. Kerry Cardon, David Tennant, who played one of the Doctor Who's, Robert Sheehan. Dean Devlin is the director of this film. Let me see. He's a producer on Independence Day, Stargate. What else has he directed? I mean, he's done a lot of sci-fi films. It's kind of interesting. Directed some of The Librarians episodes, Geostorm, Leverage. The Librarians and Leverage are very light TV shows. To see him do this film, kind of surprising because this film looks really tense. Yeah. So, Steve, you go out first. What do you think about this?
I love the setup. There's these two valet guys who are basically, in the 80s, it would have been two stoner kids who, instead of parking people's cars, this guy has an amazing car, so they decide to figure out where he lives so they could rob his house. And they essentially stumble upon a crime scene as it's happening. And here's the kid trying to call the cops. And they ask, why were you in the house? Well, we were robbing the guy. and the first thing I got out of the trailer, I'm looking at it, in the setup of this person's house they go to rob with the woman chained up in there. It just had a very Saw-like vibe for me. Like the house is wired for all this stuff to happen. And it's almost like you're tumbling into this, not process, but there's all this evil going on.
Yeah.
And this one guy is at the center of it. He's the puppet master of the entire thing. So I got kind of a Saw vibe out of the trailer.
Yeah, I felt it kind of feels like the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo type of feel to me. The one with Daniel Craig, which is the only one I've seen, which I thought was really good. Very gritty, very like, oh man,
Yeah.
So
you do not want to go out for popcorn during this one because you're going to miss something very important.
Yeah.
And don't drink any Coca-Cola so you have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe
Go
some jump
before
scares.
you
You will
go.
probably go to the bathroom, even if you don't go to the bathroom.
Well, it depends then.
Yes.
There you go.
Just,
Yep.
All right, Derek, thoughts?
I'm going to give this, well, we're not rating it yet, but yeah, the guy that's the Bad Samaritan, it definitely has a creep vibe all about him. Totally. And it's just ironic because they get basically they're, as you said, they're trying to rob this guy, and it turns out it totally backfires on them in a worse way, that it puts them in a really bad spot.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the villain's not the Bad Samaritan in this. You have to understand what a good Samaritan is. Someone going out of the way to help somebody. I'd say the two guys robbing are the Bad Samaritans because they don't help the girl right off the bat. They go running out of the building for fear of their own life.
But they say they're going to help her.
Right, yeah.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, yeah. So,
But they get themselves a whole lot of trouble because, like you said, they call the cops, like, well, what are you doing in this guy's house?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, with the premise, I'm like, okay, Ferris Bueller, Bill and Ted. Like, it would almost seem like two stoner guys doing this, but they're actually pretty sophisticatedly robbing people's houses. I mean, they've got the ultimate scam to do it, the ultimate vehicle. And
no pun intended.
Yeah. No, not at all. But it's the perfect thing, and then all of a sudden they find somebody who's just insidious.
It looks good. Okay, so ratings.
2 thumbs up.
I'm going to go the same, actually, yeah, because this looks really good.
Yep.
Yeah. This has been a pretty strong ratings of these films so far. Good choice by our producer who picked these films. But let's move on to the next one, called The Assassin's Code. A rookie detective, son of a dead, disgraced cop, works to solve his first major case while under the watchful eye of a ghost-like assassin. Directed by David A. Armstrong, starring Justin Chadwick, Peter Storbar, and Mark Thompson. I think Mark Thompson's the only guy I recognize in this who plays sort of the villain in this. David A. Armstrong. Ironically enough, my last name, Trainer, actually means Armstrong. And speaking of Saw, this guy was the guy who directed this movie, was the cinematographer for 3 of the Saw movies. Yes, I don't think he's directed that much. He has directed 2 movies, and this is one of them. So, which kind of makes sense because watching the trailer for it, it's got really good looking action in it, and some really good looking angles. And I remember watching this trailer thinking, the hell's this movie about? Like I'm reading the description of it, and I'm kind of surprised. I had no clue that's what the movie was about. Yeah. Not a clue at all. Sort of like shocked me a bit. Nothing in the trailer seemed to tell what was going on with that, and I think that's sort of I think it sort of is a tell right there of what's going on.
Yeah.
But thoughts?
I mean, reading it in the trailer paragraph, you get the backstory a bit. There's something foul going on behind the scenes in the police department. There's $1 million worth of drugs missing from the lockup, and this guy basically is out trying to clear his name or his family's name. And I didn't get that from the trailer, but in reading the background, I get a little more interested about it. And it's funny, as I read it, I'm thinking this would make a great Bruce Willis movie.
Yeah.
Considering some of the movies he's done that are almost similar to this.
Lucky
he's
Number
the
7.
Rogue cop. He's, there was the one that took place on the river in New York City. He was a river cop.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I forget the name of
Yeah,
the movie.
everyone always forgets that name of the movie. That's a good one though.
And that's a great one. I really love it. It wasn't a major box office movie, but this reminded me very much of that. There's something foul going on, and he's just trying to clear his name because he's actually a good guy. But
Yeah.
in the department, he got a bad.
Who's the other one? Negotiator? Is on the same wavelength?
Negotiator, I think that's his. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
his. Well, he's done a lot of good
So.
movies though.
But it kind of had that vibe to it. It's why, as seeing the trailer, I didn't
42
think
blocks.
that way at
That's
all.
what I'm thinking of too.
Yeah.
Is it 40? Yeah. Yeah.
But this it's a classic tale. Hopefully it's done very well. I just had a hard time learning that from the trailer.
Yeah, me too.
I just thought it was just a shoot 'em up cops and robbers thing, and
Yeah.
was no plot. Just,
Yeah. So okay, well I'm going to give this rating. One thumbs up because it looks very exciting. I will say this, it doesn't look overly choreographed. The action looks really good. And I'm going to do one thumb sideways because I'm actually kind of interested in this film, and it's not in subtitles. So I'm interested in this. Derek?
I'm kind of in between up and down.
Okay.
I mean, up in the fact that the story sounds pretty good, but down that you don't really tell that in what you see in the trailer.
Okay, so I'm not the only person to feel that way about the trailer then.
Yeah.
Okay.
The visual trailer versus what we read, there was almost like there were two different movies there.
Yeah.
But I will give it a thumbs up for the story, and I like the backstory, but I'm also going to go sideways.
Okay.
Because while the action was good, I just didn't feel it tied in well to the description. But it can be hard to condense something into 30 seconds, where you've got to attract potential viewers by having some shoot 'em up,
Right.
and having some action. So it might be.
It felt immature.
book.
That's what I'm looking for. It's, the trailer felt immature, but I don't think the movie's going to be. So I'd be interested. But anyways, we have to start wrapping up the show because we only got a minute and a half left, and we would be wrapping up Facebook Live too. But certain people who shall not be
Really?
named.
Was there something wrong?
Well, there's something was wrong apparently.
Is something amiss?
We will figure that out for next week. So we're back on Facebook Live. KJ should be back next week, which we have for next week is Gangster Films.
Yep. Which means you have less than 1 minute to sing a song and get away with it.
Oh wow, yeah. No, my producer's going to shut us down right off the bat if I start singing.
Yeah, well, you know.
So next week we're going to be on. We're going to be talking about gangster films, which should be fun to talk. We'll talk a little more about The Godfather. Steve, thanks for coming in. I hope you had fun.
Thanks for having. Oh yeah, always.
Yeah.
Always happy to be on the couch. Happy to be near the gopher there from Caddyshack.
Yeah.
Which was number 10 in the movies.
Number 10
of all the guy movies of all time.
Yeah, within the
number 9. I'm sorry.
Number
That's
9.
right.
Beat Rocky, which was surprising.
Yeah, Derek, always fun having you on the show.
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
my name is Terry Trainer. I am the host of the Late Night Live Show. We're on every Wednesday from 7 to 8. We interview not business owners, I almost said it again. We interview filmmakers, artists, actors, comedians. We thank you, Chris Esper, for coming on. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for making the trip, 3-hour drive up here to be a guest on the show. Check out his film, Bent. Thank you, CTV21, for hosting us at their studio. I want to thank the crew out back for coming in. It's been a fun show. We will be back next week. We'll hopefully on Facebook Live figure that out. But anyways, we'll be back. Terry Trainer, out.